Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video lecture, we are going to look at some new questions from the very first chapter of Keith Williams' Weight and Balance book. So far I have solved some 30 questions. In this video lecture, we are going to continue with the next set of questions. Let's start with question number 31. If aircraft basic empty mass is 12,499 pounds, what does this represent in kilograms? Meaning, you have to convert this weight in terms of pounds into corresponding kgs. So 12,499. So right here 12,499 pounds. Convert this 5669. So the correct answer is 5670. Option A. Next. Which of the following factors is the most important in determining the allowable limits of the movement of CG of an aeroplane? Maximizing efficiency by minimizing drag, available elevator and horizontal stabilizer range of movement, minimizing stall speed, minimizing landing speed. So remember, let's say this is your aircraft. Okay. The manufacturer of this aircraft will specify the forward limit and the rearward limit within which the center of gravity of this aircraft can or may move. Okay. Now, when the center of gravity moves to its most forward position, somewhere here, let's say, what happens? The weight of this aircraft will act from this point or will act through this center of gravity position. The nose of this aircraft will become very heavy. Okay, because the weight of this aircraft is acting through a point which is in the region of the nose of this aircraft. Okay, so the nose of aircraft becomes heavy, as a result of which the aeroplane or this aircraft will start pitching down automatically. Okay, the natural reaction or the natural tendency of this aircraft will be to pitch down, and the tail of this aircraft, as a consequence, will go upwards. Now, in order to counteract this, or in order to respond to this nose down ability or nose down tendency of this aircraft, the pilot of this aircraft will have to pitch up and trim his aircraft in the up elevator position, so that this aircraft may be prevented or may be stopped from pitching down excessively. Okay, so now this is what happens when your center of gravity moves to the forward position. The reverse will happen when the center of gravity moves to the backward position, or to the aft limit, or to the rearward limit. Okay, so what happens as the center of gravity moves forward or backward, the available distance between the control column in the cockpit and the elevator on the horizontal stabilizer will keep changing, will keep varying, right? So when the center of gravity moves forward, the distance between them will change. When the center of gravity moves backward, again the distance between them will change. So this distance between the CG and the horizontal stabilizer and elevator is what influences the controllability, maneuverability, stability characteristics of this aircraft. Okay, so the movement of CG, or in other words, the changing distance between the horizontal stabilizer and elevator, is what influences the performance characteristics of aircraft. So the correct answer here will be, or the most appropriate answer here will be option Bravo. The other three options, minimization of drag, minimization of stalling speed, and landing speed, are also as much important, but in the context of this question, statement B is the most appropriate one. Okay, next. Question 33. The disposable load is what? So, look at this diagram. Here you can see useful load, right? This useful load is also known as disposable load, disposable load. And this useful load is made up of takeoff fuel and traffic load. Okay, takeoff fuel and traffic load. So, disposable load or useful load is mass of crew and baggage. This is wrong. Okay, so traffic load this traffic load is not made up of crew. Crew is already included in variable loads. This traffic load is about passengers, passenger baggage, cargo, and other non-revenue generating loads, right? So eliminate option alpha. The dry operating mass less, that means subtraction. Dry operating mass without payload and fuel. So that is wrong. In fact, useful load or disposable load includes fuel and payload, right? Next, mass of fuel and other consumable fluids, wrong. Yes, it's correct that disposable load it does include takeoff fuel, but it it does not or it doesn't include only the takeoff fuel. It also includes traffic load. So statement C is wrong or Charlie is wrong. Delta mass of passengers, baggage plus items of load like fuel and other consumable fluids. Yes. So delta is the wholesome option. So it is the right option. Okay. Next, 34. Which of the following best defines the maximum taxi mass? So maximum taxi mass is the maximum structural taxi mass. Okay, the maximum limit to which you can load your aircraft when it is ready for taxiing. Okay, so it is the same as maximum takeoff mass. No. Now maximum taxi mass will include or will have the allowance for taxi fuel as well. On the other hand, maximum takeoff mass will be devoid of or will be exclusive of any taxi fuel. Okay, because this taxi fuel will be burned completely as you move from the moment you start taxiing your aircraft to the end of the taxi, that is once you reach the runway. Okay, so both things are different. Also, the maximum structural taxi mass will be different from maximum structural takeoff mass. The structural limitation of takeoff mass is more intense, or let's say the loads or the loads or the forces applied to aircraft structure at the time of takeoff will be much more than the loads imposed on aircraft structure at the time of taxi. I hope you all agree. So therefore, maximum structural taxi mass will be different from maximum structural takeoff mass. It is determined by maximum allowable shock absorber pressure, wrong. It is specified by airport authorities, irrelevant. It allows for fuel use to taxi into takeoff position. What is takeoff position? Nothing but entering the runway, lining up your aircraft with the runway center line, and positioning it ready for takeoff without exceeding maximum structural takeoff mass at the beginning of the takeoff run. So delta is the right option. 35. What is the maximum permissible mass for a box whose area is 0.4 meter into 0.4 meter when stored in a cargo hold with a floor load limit of 5000 Newton meter per square. Okay, so the formula is the meaning the floor loading limit is the maximum load intensity that may be applied to the floor of aircraft. Is the maximum load intensity applied to the floor of aircraft. Load intensity, okay, maximum load intensity is equal to mass. Next point, load intensity is equal to mass divided by the base of the area of the load. Okay, substitute the value. What is the base area? 0.4 into 0.4, and load limit is 5000 Newton per meter square. Correct? So what I'm going to do is 5000 Newton per meter square mass, area. So mass will be equal to 5,000 into 0.16, which is equal to 800 newtons. Okay, so this is the mass, or this is the weight of that particular object or that particular box. Next, 1 kilogram, very simple, 1 kilogram of mass equals to 9.8 weight or force of newtons. So 800 newtons will be equal to how many kgs? Cross multiplication will give you an answer of approximately 80 kg or 81.6 kilogram. Okay, so correct answer is option Charlie, 81.6 kilogram. Next, the position of the center of gravity of aircraft cannot change if fuel is consumed in the correct sequence. Now, the center of gravity of aircraft will move within the limits prescribed by the manufacturer. Like I said in the beginning, there is a forward limit, there is a backward limit, and the center of gravity has the freedom to move within this limits to and fro to ensure that the center of gravity moves only within the limits prescribed by the manufacturer. It can be ensured or it can be guaranteed. This can be guaranteed when the fuel in your fuel tanks is consumed in a proper sequence or in the correct sequence as specified by the manufacturer. As the fuel is consumed in the flight, when you go from point A to point B, the aircraft weight will start decreasing. The weight of aircraft will decrease. As the weight of aircraft decreases, what will happen? The center of gravity will affect because center of gravity depends on the complete weight of your aircraft, that is the complete mass of your aircraft, and the distribution of this mass inside your aircraft. And the fuel in your fuel tanks is the fuel tanks in your aircraft are located at different locations. Two wings, sometimes it is also located on the top of the fuselage. So the correct sequence is mentioned as to which fuel tank will be emptied first, or from which fuel tank will the fuel be drawn or withdrawn first. And accordingly, the center of gravity position will move longitudinally and it can also move laterally. So remember this point also. So it cannot change, it does change, but the change is within the acceptable limits. Will remain within limits if fuel is used in the correct sequence? Yes. Never moves laterally, it does move laterally, so wrong. Laterally means wingtip to wingtip. Longitudinally means straight ahead, nose to tail. Okay. Can't be changed by passenger movements. It can be changed as passengers get up from the seats to go to washrooms, restrooms, or just to uh, for some 37. Ensuring that aircraft are weighed correctly and at the correct frequency is the responsibility of whom? Okay, so aircraft, the weighing of aircraft and the correct frequency of that is the responsibility of national authority like DGCA, operating company, owner of that aircraft, captain of that aircraft. So correct answer is the operating company or the operator of that aircraft. Okay, next. Which of the following best defines the term station of a body as applied to the loading of large transport aircraft? The distance from the nose of aircraft expressed in inches, the distance from the center of gravity datum, the distance from the leading edge of the mean aerodynamic chord, the position defined in terms of longitudinal reference system originating at the design stage. So body station. So what is that? Let's say this is your aircraft. Now, in your aircraft, there will be different locations where you're going to secure or you're going to put or position your cargo or other objects. So these positions are called body stations, the allocated positions for every object. Okay. So these are nothing but body stations. So these are positions defined in terms of longitudinal reference system originating at the design stage. Just remember the definition, it will that will be sufficient. Next, Which of the following factors is the most important in determining the allowable limits of movement of center of gravity of aeroplane? So it is always the available elevator and horizontal stabilizer or stabilizer range of aircraft. Okay. So as the center of gravity moves to the forward limit, backward limit, the available distance between the horizontal stabilizer, your elevator, and the control column on your aircraft changes with the change of CG movement. And this will influence the stability, maneuverability, controllability characteristics of your aircraft. Okay. So on this note, we'll stop here. I hope you have found this lecture productive and you have learned something new today. Don't miss my next video lectures in which I will continue solving the remaining questions from this chapter. I request you all to practice these questions time and again. Also, look at the questions from R.K. Bali, Keith William that I have already solved. All the best.